Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ever Better podcast. This is episode 12 and perpetual AMA number 5. What I do on these episodes is I go through questions in the Deciding to Be Better and Find a Path subreddits, and I try to answer them as best I can. Give people some face-to-face advice, something that maybe they haven't gotten with this so far. You put these things out there and people reply with comments, and that's good, but sometimes you just need face-to-face conversation or one-way conversation. Just advice? I don't know. I'm trying my best. So we start today with I Hate Goodbye in Find a Path, asking what kind of career in CS am I looking for? First of all, I'm glad that a subreddit like this exists, and I hope I can contribute someday. Second, I need pointing in the right direction, or at least some ideas on where to start looking things up on my own. As background, I'm a 27-year-old U.S. citizen living with my parents in San Diego. For most of my adult life, I've worked retail, saving up enough money to travel somewhere, coming home, and repeating. As much fun as this has been, I'm getting to a point in my life where I want to start being able to live in new places, not just visit them, which means I need to find a career that'll let me work in different countries or work remotely. I'm currently working on a degree in CS, computer science, because computers have fascinated me most of my life, and I work on read, start, and never finish software projects of my own as a hobby when I'm home. I'm definitely looking for a path in CS somewhere. I used to think I wanted to do something meaningful, but now I think I just want something with a decent work-life balance and possibility of working either for myself or for nonprofits. Because having worked for giant corporations all my life, I don't want to do it anymore unless I have to. My other hobbies that I wouldn't mind getting to work alongside of are creative writing and tabletop game design, although writing doesn't seem to be feasible to make a living with reliably, and I've heard too many horror stories about working in games of both the tabletop and video sorts. I'll also be marrying a German citizen some point next year, and we want to have kids eventually, but we both share the dream of living in many different places, and she's figuring out how to make that work from her end. But as of now, most likely we'll live together somewhere in the EU at first while searching for our next home. Thank you so much for reading my wall of text. If you have any suggestions, pointers, or even just nudges in possible directions, I'd greatly appreciate it. Well, if you've got your mind in the right place. You're 27. You know you want to go into computer science in some fashion. It sounds like you've got a little bit of programming background if you're starting software projects. That really does enable you some flexibility. More and more companies are hiring remote. If you go to the digital nomad subreddit, there's going to be plenty of things there that you see that are opportunities for working remotely. Just look up. There's another site, remote work. Let me see if I can find it. Not Slack. I know remote.co. This was the one. There are tons of postings here. And if you need experience, you can get started on a site like Fiverr or Upwork. And if you've got the skills and you can deliver projects effectively and in a time and cost and rate that works for you, yeah, you absolutely, with a degree in computer science, will be able to work wherever you want. It isn't easy, and especially with the freelancing route like Upwork, you might have to apply to a ton of jobs before you actually get some gigs, but it definitely can be done. So what kind of career in CS am I looking for? It sounds like programming. If you're starting these things and you like the ideas of, you mentioned tabletop game design, so you think in design terms and you think in kind of big picture terms, programming's for you. I mean, it's a canvas that you can do anything with, and you might also like user experience or UI or something like that, but it sounds like you're going down the programming route and it's where your passion lies, and good for you. I started down that route and I still enjoy it, but I like marketing more. So I hope that helps. Next up from sweetzu, child protection officer or child psychologist. Would love any input regarding similar careers. I'll be graduating with a degree in psychology and linguistics this August. And while I'm anxious about job prospects during the recession, I'm starting to develop a keen interest in the field. hopefully short summary of my life so far. My main goal in life has always been to be the person I needed when I was younger and to help people who can't help themselves. I started working part-time as a primary school teacher, then a preschool teacher, but gradually became disillusioned by the bureaucratic obstacles in public schools, then by how parents would undo most of the progress in the children I worked with. So I set my sights on being a child psychologist and worked in various research labs through my 4 years at uni. I've managed to snag some amazing internships, but I'm sort of at a crossroads right now due to restrictions surrounding the COVID situation. One major thing struck me while I was doing research with children was how helpless I was as a researcher, not being able to interfere as an impartial, objective witness in abuse or neglect situations. Still planning to pursue postgraduate studies in developmental psychology, but I'm planning to save up to avoid student loan debt as much as possible. I appreciate any advice. First off, very good, thoughtful approach by what you're doing, trying to save up to avoid student loan debt. Awesome. It's not clear quite. The toss-up is between child protection officer or child psychologist. You're going to run into the same bureaucratic stuff as a CPO as you would have in the schools. Child protection work is, in most municipalities I know of, a civil service position, and you're going to be bogged down with the same kinds of things where you're going to be limited in the scope in which you can influence the child's life. You do have a little bit of clout. I mean, you can. I know child protection officers are often called to testify in trials. They often have to do depositions based on things they've seen. So you are impacting a little bit more there. But in any civil service position, just be aware that you're going to hit some roadblocks. It is also probably a more maybe it is, I don't know, maybe a more secure position than something private. But child psychologist, on the other hand, you're going to be limited in the amount of enforcement you can do, but you probably can develop more close relationships with the children you work with and hopefully have more of an impact. So yeah, that's the things you have to balance. I hope that helps, sweetzu, and good luck. Let me know if you have any other questions, or if anybody out there has any ideas, definitely let them know. All right. Next is from Bayfarm. Does anyone think doing some Into the Wild type thing would be really cool? Suddenly, I totally relate to Chris McCandless. I honestly feel exactly like him right now. Maybe not live in a bus till I starve myself to death, but some cool journey across the country. Yeah, I absolutely don't think some Into the Wild type thing would be really cool, especially not the starving myself to death part. I live in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York, and it's not. So I guess I don't have quite the same yearning. If you live in a city, I know a lot of my friends that live in cities like New York or Chicago have that yearning to get out and do this kind of road trip type thing, and I do too once in a while. But honestly, just get out into nature for a couple of days or hike. I don't know how close you are to the Appalachian Trail. Go hike the Appalachian Trail for a couple days. I think it might actually be closed right now, so I take that back. But you can get that might scratch the itch, so to speak. If you just did maybe a couple day journey in the backcountry, maybe in the Adirondacks, or I don't know how many of the national parks are available to hikers right now, but you don't have to go. You acknowledge that you don't have to go full on in a bus. But yeah, it would be really cool. It's always a good thing. I think things like that are healthy for you, and especially in a time like this where a lot of people are starting to. I think a lot of people are starting to have to reckon with that voice in their head for the first time in a long time, and that's scary for a lot of people. I know people who live in cities and are just constantly surrounded by stimuli don't ever have that time for self-reflection. So things like this sound really awesome to them, and they are. It's always, like I said, it's always a good thing to do. Yeah, hell yeah. You want to go do it? Do it. I wouldn't recommend Alaska. Wouldn't recommend a van, and I wouldn't recommend. I would definitely recommend planning really, really well. Chris McCandless did not, if I remember, he did not plan very well. But yeah, there's certainly a romanticism that goes along with that idea. So I wish you luck if you do something. I don't know what's open or what's available right now, but it sounds awesome. Um, Exponential Phone writes, OCD, social anxiety, and the need for an in-demand occupation means that I can't seem to find any suitable career, seeing no options at all. Any suggestions? I'm a 29-year-old male about to be 30 from Bangladesh, BS in economics, and A levels and O levels. Both the degrees are from universities in Bangladesh, with the MBA from an AACSB accredited business school. I was diagnosed with severe OCD and social anxiety and depression accompanying it during my A levels, and 12 years later, and hundreds of psychotherapy and medications, the disorder has not gone away. I've been told to consider it as a chronic disability and build my life around it. I've been working at a large retail bank as a universal banker in the non-cash area, providing customer service, and the job which I'm doing for 2 years now is absolutely horrible every day. I'm failing in it, especially the sales targets, and I've been given notice. I have trouble maintaining normal eye contact, let alone building rapport, so I just couldn't convince people enough to bring in sales. The constant multitasking and customer interaction is extremely sensorily overloading. I also get 15 minutes for lunch and bathroom breaks if there are no customers, so that's another stress. I also work 10 hours with commute. It's 14 hours a day plus 5 days a week. Going out on sales calls is outside work hours. The job has made my mental health worse. I was considering the following: becoming a lecturer in economics, not possible since I don't have a master's in economics. Becoming a lecturer in business, not possible. Become an economist, not possible, no master's degree. Become a management consultant. You're not considering these if they're not possible. Um, Become a management consultant, but it has 60 plus work hours, promotions based on sales, and networking is essential, so that's not an option. That's not true. You can become a consultant on your own. The occupation has 60 plus work hours for the people who put in 60 plus work hours. A lot of consultants are juggling 3 or 4 clients at once, and that's why they're putting in 60 plus work hours. If you can find places that you can add value in 10 hours a week, that can be what you offer people. Become a market researcher, less face-to-face contact, but even here the sales and networking are essential. Besides, the occupation is not in the in-demand list of any country that I know of. That's also not true. It seems that you're making some assumptions about some stuff, but go look at just go to LinkedIn and type in market research, and you're going to find a ton of positions. A friend of mine's looking, and she was asking for if anybody had any leads on any positions. I had one opening in the company I work for. And even in looking in LinkedIn, I found 3 or 4 more and sent those to her because it was, there's a lot of opportunities in market research, especially if you know how to manipulate data and make something meaningful out of it. That's a pretty rare skill. There's a lot of people who know we need data and we need lots of it, but to be able to take that and turn it into a tangible action for a marketing team or for a product team, then you're special. So, yeah, there's absolutely markets for market researchers. Business analyst. I know very few countries have business analyst as an in-demand occupation. I think you have some misconceptions about these things because business analyst, at least maybe it is very few countries. Maybe I'm naive here, but at least in the U.S., it is everything. As more workplaces go towards agile development, business analysts are really the linchpin there. In the agile world, a business analyst is the one who takes user requirements and writes user stories. So when a new feature is going to go in the software, you write out physically what the feature should do from the point of view for the customer. And it's a skill because it ends up having to be like it ends up being the criteria by which you can determine when the feature is finished. So as a user on Reddit, I want to be able to click on this button and have it do this. And when I click out, it should go return to this screen. That whole thing, it sounds like simple. Like, of course, that's what the feature should do. But business analyst really excels at articulating that and having it be a binary 0 or 1 pass-fail scenario. And to do that well, you will very much be in demand because I've come across a lot of business analysts that do not do that well and don't write requirements very well. And then the feature is released and it's nothing like what the customer wants. So there's a skill there. So right now, you can't seem to find any path. Requirements are that the occupation have no sales or customer service. All right, business analyst, you're going to have to interact with a lot of people, at least in the definition I gave. Independence or autonomy, the more I can set my own work pace or schedule, the better. Ability to work alone and in-demand occupation. Living in Bangladesh is not really a good place economy-wise and for people with mental illnesses. Here's an example of an in-demand occupation list. Can anyone provide any suggestions? Market research definitely is less face-to-face, so you could definitely ride that pretty well, and not have to interact with a lot of people. Consultant, you're gonna have to be you're gonna always have to be in contact with people. That's not great. The networking also doesn't sound like it's gonna be up your alley. Market research, I think you nailed it there. And I wouldn't. What is this list? I have to look at the list to make sure, but I just don't know. Medium and long-term strategic skills list. I mean, at least, like I said, at least in the U.S., there is no shortage of market researchers, and really, the level of that. It's not so much the market research; it is the manipulation and the analysis of the data where you can really clean up, because there are always businesses will always be looking for better ways to use their data. So if you can deliver that, you're good. All right. Next up, lifelessmomo. Help. I, 17F, will try to go back to fixing myself both mentally and physically, but don't know where to start. I started out working last year in March after my ex broke up with me and lost 7 kilos in a span of 3 months due to depression as well. I deactivated my Facebook account also in that time. Since the year started, I started eating a lot again, but still in pain, but quite okay. I came back a few days ago on Facebook because I was bored this quarantine and found out I can no longer handle being there. The toxicity and negativity of people there is overwhelming. Yes, it is. Additionally, they remind me of my ex. So now it's my first day of deactivating again. I had a banana shake and egg for breakfast, but see no motivation in working out again. My love handles are coming back and don't know where to start. In the mental aspect, I took questions that could help me reflect, but also don't know where to start. I need some advice on where to start, whether or how to start with, or what'll be best to use the rest of the free days for self-improvement. Thank you, everyone. I've said this before, so I apologize if people are listening to this and have heard previous episodes, but you have to break the routine. Like you have to give your brain something new to learn or something new to think about. Because it sounds like you keep coming back to your ex and you're obsessed. You're focusing on just the physical fitness piece of it, which is good. That's certainly a healthy habit to get into. But give your brain some kind of break whatever pattern in your brain is hanging you up every day. So that could mean whatever, starting like P90X or starting a new fitness thing, just a completely new thing that you just force yourself to do. It could mean scheduling. If you force yourself to stick to a schedule, you put it on there and you set an alarm, and every day that alarm is going to go off at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m., whenever you want to get up and do it. And you have to do this thing. And make it an alarm that just repeats until you actually go do it. Don't just be able to swipe it and get rid of it. But try something new, whatever it is, or try to learn something new. It does your focus is on physical fitness in this question, which is good again, but just learning something new or taking up a new hobby or learning how to I mentioned the example before of learning how to make bread. When I started to learn how to make bread, I went crazy on learning to make bread. I know this sounds a little counterintuitive given your fitness goals, but bread's delicious. Just eat bread. But when I started to learn about it, it consumed me, and it just became all I wanted to learn about, and I was excited to learn about it months and months. And that sometimes can be what gets your brain, from there, you branch out and you learn about something else. So try to learn something. All right, I'm running a little short on time. I'm going to try to get through one more of these, and then I have a question from YouTube that I should get to too. Let me get that one up. Where is it? All right. Okay, so I want to go on. I'm on a self-improvement kick at the moment. How do I maintain it? This is from Rob WRX. I've started not wallowing in self-pity and instead focusing on the things I can improve about my life. I recently started on antidepressants, which is helping with this. How do I maintain this drive? I'm worried I'll be back at square one again, as this has happened in the past. I'm trying to tell myself action comes before motivation. You have to start the thing and then the motivation comes after. Any other tips? Thanks for reading. Good luck on all your journeys. Kind of the same advice as the last one. Get something you can get excited about, something you know nothing about. The brain loves this stuff. Like when the brain starts to learn new things, like it just starts to fire all these different parts of your mind that are inactive for most of our lives. Because it's like, oh, I get to learn something new. Especially, I don't know how old you are, Rob, but if you're older and you've been out of like school for a while or something, and then you start to learn something new, your brain is like, oh shit, this is like when I was little and I was learning every day. And it really, I cannot preach the benefits of learning new things enough. So go down a YouTube rabbit hole for a night. Look at like some homesteading videos or whatever. Pick a completely new skill and just say, you know what? I'm going to be good at this. And I'm going to be the person who, when my friends are talking about like what they've been doing during this quarantine and all this stuff we're going through, I'm going to be the one that comes out stronger and comes out different. I think that can go a long way. I hope that helped. All right. I've got 4 more minutes. I'm going to get through this one quick. Rohan Kala commented on a YouTube video, and I felt obligated to answer them. I'm a 34-year-old software engineer from India working in the U.S. for the last 10 years. I'm not enjoying my work for the last 3 to 4 years. I don't find my work to be great and exciting. I feel working as an employee in an organization is very limiting. I feel bonded, and every day I think strongly that I should quit and do something on my own. But I can't do that as I'm on a work visa. If I quit my job, I have to return to my home country. After living in the U.S. for so long, I like the lifestyle here. But the fact that I hate going to work makes me question if it's really worth living here if I have to do something for half my day that I don't feel worthwhile. So I feel stuck. I'm not sure what I should do next. I feel I can take risks as I don't have responsibilities, not married yet. Do you have any advice for me? Get in touch with some staffing firms. I only know this because I have somebody I work with who is on a work visa and is actually in the lottery right now for the next year. And we couldn't bring him on full time. Our company wouldn't sponsor him full time because he didn't have you have to have like a special set of skills, whatever our definition was, and he was in marketing. But a staffing agency was able to, and they were able to. So we basically sent him there and were able to hire them. And staffing agencies, if you get in good with a recruiter or you're friendly enough with a recruiter, they'll look out for you. They'll look for opportunities based on what you're looking for. So just because you're right now in your current job doesn't mean you can't reach out, build a relationship with a recruiter, and start to learn what opportunities are out there. And they'll just keep an eye out for you so that you don't have a gap there where you're not eligible or you're not working. They can make that transition smooth for you. So I hope that helps, Rowan. And if you have any other questions, please reach out. Thank you for watching the video and commenting. And anybody else, if I answered your question today and you thought this was worthwhile and you wanted me to keep doing it, subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to the audio version if that's how you like to consume this kind of stuff. Let me know suggestions for changing the show or doing things differently. It's a work in progress. As you can see today, I learned chroma key with a green screen behind me. I probably look whiter than normal. So yeah, I appreciate you all for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you.